behavior. I'ma need you, please, for me, right? Behave. Look at my eyes. Can you really deny a request from me? Stop adding look at the killer as a form of counterplay. I am begging you. So All Things Rising has hit the PTB, or All Things Wicked, I apologize, has hit the PTB. This is the newest chapter that is coming out on March 12th. And it's honestly one of my favorite chapters that I have experienced since I joined the game back in October of 2022. Honestly, I think it might be my favorite chapter since I've joined the game. Yeah, honestly, I think it might be my favorite. Is it like stupid, oh my god, amazing? Not really, but it's also like really, really good. So we've got a bunch of things. We've got the new killer known as the Unknown. We have the new survivor, Sable Ward, with her perks. We have a new map. We're going to cover all of that, including my thoughts on some of the other changes that have come to the game with this patch. If you're interested in the patch notes, I covered both the developer update and I covered the PTB patch notes in 2 separate videos that are on your screen now. With all that being said, just a real quick thank you to my channel members listed on screen below, and let's jump into my thoughts on the PTB. So, the very first thing I want to actually start off with is actually the Survivor. Now, I'm not a Survivor player, I'm a killer main. I play Survivor, I play a lot of Survivor, but when it comes to my preference of the 2 roles, killer is the role I prefer. But I do think that there's some interesting stuff coming with this new Survivor. So the main thing that I'm really excited about with both the Survivor and the killer is that there is thematics through their perks. This doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen as much as it used to. There's a lot of releases that I've seen, especially when I was doing all achievements challenge. I noticed that a lot of the adepts, there were just like the perks within each of the releases didn't synergize with each other that well, which is kind of annoying. But they're doing it this time. So Sable Ward introduces a new perk type called Invocation. In the basement, there is a salt circle with 4 little lines, and up to all 4 survivors can interact with the salt circle if they have an invocation perk. If they don't have an invocation perk, they can help the person with the invocation perk. So what does invocation do? Basically, it gives you a very powerful reward for a lot of downside, which is a little bit too much, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But the invocation perk is called Weaving Spiders. When in the basement near the circle, you press your ability button 1, which for me it was actually M1. I don't think that's not an ability button. But yeah, you hold M1 as if you were interacting with a generator or cleansing a totem. Invocations take 120 seconds. That's 2 minutes to finish. Other survivors will see your aura and can join, increasing the speed by an additional 50%. So it would go, if one survivor joins you, it goes from 2 minutes to, does it go to 1 minute? No, it wouldn't go to 1 minute. No, 50% off of 2 minutes. I think it goes to, it wouldn't go to 1 minute. 1 minute would be, okay, the point is that the timer is reduced by 50% for each person joining you. If they also have an invocation perk equipped, then it increases it by 100%. That's when it would go. So if you and another person both have an invocation equipped, then it goes from 2 minutes to 1 minute. If 3 people have invocation equipped, it goes from 1 minute to 30 seconds, and then it'll go from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. So if all 4 people have it, you can complete it in 15 seconds. Once the invocation is completed, you become injured and broken for the rest of the trial. It is always the person that starts the invocation. If all 4 survivors are doing it, only 1 survivor becomes broken for the rest of the trial. And I don't like that part, and I'll explain why in a moment. And then all generators instantly are repaired for 9, 12, or 15%. So, the way that this works is that if there's multiple invocations in play, all it does is speed up the timer. If all 4 survivors have Invocation Spider Weaver, it does not repair all generators by 60%. Okay? That's not what happens. But you could theoretically repair 5 generators up to 85%, do the invocation in 15 seconds, and then pop all 5 generators. But that requires a lot of coordination and the killer just being an absolute brainlet. Because, and this is important, it repairs the generators by 15%. It is not like a BNP. It does not knock off the amount of charges required, it repairs. So a killer can theoretically null and void this entire perk. It's actually got counterplay. And if the killer's running around with Surge, Pop, Pain Res, you know, these perks that just blow the generator for a large amount, then there's a lot of counterplay to that. Because of this, and I want you guys to keep this in mind, because of this, I think the broken for the entire match is too much. Instead, I think the broken, if you want to apply the broken, I think the broken needs to be dependent on the overall effect of the generator. Or alternatively, it could be something like you are broken until a generator is completed, or until a generator is regressed to 0, or maybe not that, but you get what I'm saying. I think there needs to be a limiter on the broken if you want to put it. I think broken for the entire match is too large of a punishment for the amount of counterplay that is provided. Yes, I get it. You can pop 5 gens, 3 gens, whatever, what seems like instantaneously. I understand that. However, if the killer isn't a brainlet, they can play around this. And you got to remember, this takes a long time to set up. To me, there's too much risk for the reward that can be counterplayed. And so, in my opinion, I believe that if you're going to push this through to the live servers, then we need to do something with the broken. I think the time investment is fine. I think the time investment is perfectly fine. I just think that the broken needs to be changed a bit. Her next perk is called Strength in Shadows. When in the basement, this perk activates. Unlocks the ability to heal yourself without a medkit for 60% normal healing speed, which is faster than self-healing, if I remember correctly. And then when you finish a heal in the basement, any heal, so if you unhook someone in the basement and then you heal them up real quick with Will Make It or whatever, then you will see the killer's aura for 6, 8, 10 seconds. Fantastic, cool, not that great. I don't think running to the basement to get a free self-heal is necessarily a good play. And this perk directly contradicts Weaving Spiders. So if you use Weaving Spiders, you can't use this perk. So these two don't go hand in hand and can end up fucking each other. However, I do believe that this perk might... Okay, then. I do believe that this perk might have some use in... No, actually, I don't see where you can use this perk. I'm trying to think of any build that would use this perk, and I just don't... Autodidact, maybe? But again, it's just... I don't think the risk is worth it. You know what I mean? I don't think going down to the basement to try to use this perk is worth it. Finally, the last perk is Wicked, and I'm not going to talk about it. And the reason I'm not going to talk about it is because the PTB features a different version of the perk, and so we do not know what the perk does. I am so baffled by this decision. We don't know what the perk does. So there's no way for me to give you an opinion on it. I can tell you right now that the current version of it is bad, but there's no point in discussing it. So yeah, so she's got one really good perk. She's got a perk that's kind of dog shit, and then she's got a perk we have no idea what it does. Cosmetic-wise, she's really pretty. I like her. I personally would have liked her better if she was a person of color. I think white goth girls are a little bit overdone. Don't get me wrong. I love white goth girls. I love goth girls. Okay, I'm bisexual. Of course, I love goth girls. I just think that a POC would have been better. Lore-wise, her lore is really cool. She was best friends with Michaela. I say best friends because they are lesbians, and you will not convince me otherwise. But yeah, so I think the new Survivor is really cool. I think that her, like I said, her perks need a little bit of work. Strength and you know what? People are probably going to ask how I would change strength and shadows. I would just straight up remove the 60% penalty to healing. I would let you self heal for free up to a maximum of 3 times in one match. Yeah, actually, no, that's actually good. You would start the trial with, say, 3 tokens. Maybe like if as you level it up, like 3, 4, 5 tokens or something like that. And you can only, we'd say 3. We'll keep it at 3. So 1, 2, and 3 tokens. And every time you self-heal in the basement, it removes a token. Right? So you still have that power at full healing speed, but it's limited to only 3 times a match. And then you can keep the aura reading, because honestly, who gives a fuck? That's how I would change it. I think that's a good one. Next up, the new killer, the unknown, the twisting monstrosity. If I hear one of you motherfuckers call him Dwight one more time, I'm taking out my nuts and I'm slapping all of you with it. With them. I have 2 nuts. In any case, the new killer's power is the UVX. It is also known as the Unknown Venom X, because the killer is thought to be a failed military experiment. Basically, you hold down right click as you would for a Huntress hatchet or a Trickster daggers. I'm fucking stupid. Huntress hatchet or Trickster daggers. This little writhing penis comes out of your chest, and then you fire a glob in a very short arc. The range on this thing is not very big. I tried looking up as far as I could to fire it, and it only went probably about 12-ish meters. It's not very far. While the projectile is airborne, if it goes through a survivor, it hinders them. For how long and by how much, I don't know. It doesn't tell you. The game does it. Behavior has been very terrible at giving us exact numbers. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't tell you. When it hits the ground, it explodes in a small radius, and any survivor caught in that explosion will be afflicted with the weakened status effect. While a survivor is weakened, they can be injured by that explosion instead. So this is basically a different Nimi tentacle. The problem with this power, and this is what I was saying in the beginning, is what pisses me off, is the counter to it is to just stare at the killer. So if the killer hits you with the power, and I'm going to let you know, even though it's got an explosion radius, this power is not easy to land. Oh, just aim at their feet. It's easy to dodge. It's a very slow-moving projectile. It does not move very fast. If you are paying attention to the killer when they go to fire it, you can avoid it pretty easily. It can be bounced off of walls and stuff, which is really cool. Hey, Mr. Cool Guy, if you're seeing this on YouTube, thank you so much for following, man. I appreciate that. So you can bounce it off of walls, projectile. It bounces one time and then it explodes on the next thing it touches, which might lead to some cool trick shots. However, the momentum of it, the way that it bounces is kind of odd. I personally tried using it like a Bastion nade. Bastion from Overwatch. I play him a lot. I tried using it like a Bastion nade, and it didn't work the way I thought it was going to, so I kind of missed a lot of shots with it. Once you get used to it, it can be very fun to use. I just don't personally think that it is the best perk, or best ability. I think the killer's a B tier because the ability is good, but the fact that you need to shoot them to weaken them, then shoot them to injure them, then shoot them to down them, and none of those shots can be direct hits because it has to actually explode and it passes through, the projectile passes through survivors, makes the ability a little underwhelming. But I could forgive all of that if you could not be countered by being stared at. When they are afflicted with the weakness status effect, they straight up just get to look back at you, and then on the survivor side, I did this when I was playing the Sable, on the survivor side, little meter goes, doop, and you're fucking cleansed. It's bad. It's bad design. I have been saying for ages that Ghostface's counter of being stared at needs to be taken away and replaced with something else. And it's the same thing for this one. Imagine if other killers worked this way. Imagine if when Nemesis infected you, you get to just look back at him as he's breaking a pallet and cleanse yourself of the infection. Imagine if fucking Plague vomits on you and you just have to stare at her to cleanse the infection. It's not fun. It's not interesting. It's uninteractive for the killer. There's nothing you can do to stop it, by the way, because if you duck behind cover... So let's say you're trying to stop them from cleansing their weakness. Maybe you're waiting on your shot to cool down. You go behind cover. The meter that's draining pauses. It doesn't reset. It pauses. Trying to calm down here. What needs to happen is there needs to be an interaction to cleanse it. An interaction with an item, an interaction with something, that needs to be the counterplay. I am sick and fucking tired of being countered by the survivors just looking at me. It's fucking... my first main Ghostface was ruined by it. Do not let it be ruined by this killer. Do not let this killer get fucked like this behavior. I'm begging you. The second ability is hallucinations. Now, some people in my community have been under the impression that you can choose where to leave your hallucinations. You cannot. The hallucination meter will only go up if you are not near of hooks. While you are not near of hooks, the hallucination meter slowly fills up. When it reaches the top, you leave a hallucination. My chat seems to believe that the way you choose where to leave your hallucinations is to wait for the bar to almost fill up and then go to the place you want to leave your hallucinations. This is stupid because you are just wasting time. It is far better to just walk around the map and let the hallucinations pop up where they're going to pop up. You then have random TP points around the map that you can easily utilize at any given time. It's not the greatest, but it's not bad, right? Again, this killer is very average. I think that overall, for terms of power, this killer is just extremely in the middle. He is a B tier killer in the middle of B tier. He's not bad, but he's not great. He's not grand. He's stronger because of the ranged aspect of him, but he's just got too much counterplay to his power. It needs to be changed. And while we're at it, change Ghostface as well. Let's talk about his perks. Unbound. This perk activates for 24, 27, or 30 seconds after a survivor becomes injured by any means. After vaulting a window, you gain 5% haste for 10 seconds. The effect cannot stack with itself. So in other words, you can't injure a survivor, vault a window, get the 5%, injure that survivor, revault another window, and get 10%. You can't do it. This perk is not bad. It's actually a pretty decent anti-loot perk. But, and you're going to find this with the rest of his perks, it's only really good when paired with a build around vaulting. If you pair this with Bamboozle, Superior Anatomy, or alternatively, you put this on a killer who can vault faster, like Myers or Chucky, then this is a really good effect. It's good when it is paired with other stuff that helps it. On its own, it's not the greatest. And that is a running theme for the rest of his perks. Unforeseen. When you perform a break action on a generator, your terror radius transfers to the generator for 22, 26, or 30 seconds, and its radius is set to 32 meters, and you gain undetectable for that duration. Really, really good perk. Really, really fun. It is best paired with gen kicking builds. It is not great on its own. The undetectable doesn't last as long as it could. But the other cool thing about this is it's also paired really well with perks that work with your terror radius, like Unnerving Presence or Corleophobia. If you run up to a gen, you kick it, and then you fuck off somewhere. Maybe you teleport to the other end of the map, and that gen's still producing that terror radius, then survivors who are trying to repair in that terror radius can be affected by things like Unnerving Presence and stuff like that. And so I think that this perk will be paired really well with either terror radius perks or with gin kicking builds just for the undetectable, right? Basically, it's a trail of torment that puts the terror radius on the gin, which is kind of cool. So you have a choice whether or not to use trail or this one. I personally would choose this one over trail. That's just me. Finally, we have Undone. When a survivor misses a healing or repair skill check, gain 3 tokens up to a maximum of 18, 24, 30. And then when you perform a break action on a generator, if you have any tokens, consume all of them. And then the generator loses an additional 1% of progress per token, and then is blocked for that amount of seconds per token. This is not good. It is a perk that relies on the skill level of the survivors. And this is kind of a big problem. You could run this. I'm going to run this on Impossible Skill Check Doctor in place of Huntress's Lullaby. But that's the only place I can think for it. Because unless you're doing something that can make skill checks harder to hit, you're not going to have a good time with this perk. I don't particularly believe that this perk is that great, and I do believe that of his 3 perks, it's the weakest. Of his 3 perks, the strongest is probably Unforeseen, but the weakest is definitely Undone. But all of his perks share the theme of not being that great when they're alone. New map is Greenville Square. I love it. It's honestly probably my favorite map in the game. I'm not even kidding you. A lot of people might think I'm crazy, but I really liked Toba Landing when Toba Landing came out. I thought Toba Landing was pretty badass. But I do not like, but I like Greenville better. It's basically what I wish Garden of Jagoffs was. It's more colorful. It's more fair to both survivors and killers. The main building is not a nightmarish hellscape to try to loop in. It's more alive. It's interesting. I like it. There is a couple of double pallet spots. Basically, I don't know why I fucking hate this. So this is a rock, right? It's a water bottle, but it's a rock. And on this side of the rock is a pallet. And on this side of the rock is another pallet. And people are like, oh, but it's just 2 unsafe pallets. And I'm like, yes, but when they're both dropped, they become safe pallets. And then somebody's going to be like, but just break them and then they're not safe anymore. And then I'm going to be like, but breaking them takes time. I've had this entire pallet discussion before, and I'm really sick of talking about it. But the point is that just because a pallet is unsafe, it does not mean that it does not still do what pallets do. If you put 2 pallets right next to each other, then they are still useful in terms of being pallets. They are still strong. They still waste time. And when both of them become safe pallets when dropped, and you are forced to break at least one of them, that is only wasting more precious time for survivors to get away. Even unsafe pallets have their place. Even unsafe pallets have their strengths that make them a pain in the ass to deal with. Stop doubling up on pallets. Stop letting pallets spawn so close together. However, this is only on one spot on the map, so I'm not that mad about it. Finally, the Mangled update, and then we'll do some very quick overviews of the killer changes. Mangled update is stupid. Revert it. You also said you were only targeting Mangled, and you're also targeting Hemorrhage. Revert it, revert it, revert it, revert it, revert it, revert it, revert it. Nobody needed this shit. Nobody asked for this shit. Nobody said this was good. Taking away the killer's ability to inflict slowdown with Mangled is doing nothing but increasing the problems with the Gen Rush meta that we are currently in. And if you are curious about what I mean by Gen Rush meta, then wait for my video tomorrow. The point is that this is a bad decision, and it's going to lead to more perks being used as slowdowns. Eventually, we're going to end up in this fucking quad slowdown meta where every single build is the same because that's the only way that killers can feel like they stand a chance. Okay? So, stop. Revert the Mangled nerf. It does not need to go through. Killer updates. I'm going to tell you right now, I did not play Blight. I did not play Clown because I don't care. Doctor, fine. Really fast, really cool. I like the way his stuff works now. Oh, I didn't play Demogorgon either. The Hag, really fucking badass. I love the Hag now. I didn't think that extra 8 meters was going to do anything, or that extra 0.1 second of trap setting time was going to do anything, but goddamn, bro, Hag feels so fluid. She feels so fun. You don't feel like your traps are being wasted as much. Great improvements to Hag. We'll come back to Huntress in a minute. Actually, you know what? No, we'll talk about Huntress now because I have a lot to say about the pig. Huntress, revert it. Revert it, revert it, revert it, revert it, revert it. I am washed. I am dog shit at Huntress, okay? I was able to be a fucking menace with Huntress. Is when you use her base, it's fast. When you double up on wind up add-ons, it's insane. It's actually insane, bro. You fucking just shoom, shoom, shoom. I literally would have points where I would hit them with the hatchet, and then by the time they would take off with their base kit haste, I would have another hatchet flying right at them. That needs to be reverted. Revert this shit. I'm not even kidding you. Shut up, Baxter. Damn, I'm trying to record a video. Here, you want to say hi to people? Fat cat. Anyway, finally, the pig. These changes are good. Okay? I want to get that out of the way. These changes are good. The pig feels better. She feels faster. Her crouch, if you put her crouch add-ons on, they all work great. They all work good in tandem. She's better chase killer. But I did not fucking want that. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I am so fucking sick of chase killers. I am so tired of us leaning in to this dude dashes forward with a weapon, right? Blight dashes forward with a cane. Billy dashes forward with a chainsaw. Nurse blinks forward with a fucking surgical tool, okay? Chucky dashes forward with a knife. Wesker dashes forward and wraps you up in a tentacle hentai. I'm sick of dashing forward killers. I'm sick of it. And the unique selling point of the pig was not the ambush. It did not need to be buffed. I'm tired. I know, listen to me, bro. I know people like fucking Scott Jund want every killer to be a fucking chase killer and speedy killer and all this other shit. No. The whole fucking point of this game and releasing all of these different killers is to give them identities of their own. The thing that makes Pig unique is her reverse bear traps. There is no fucking reason that the reverse bear traps should not be leaned into. Oh, but insta-kill... Okay, we're not even talking about that, right? If you want to take away the lethality of the reverse bear traps, fine. But replace them with something else. With debuffs, with status effects, with something else. If you don't want them to be lethal. Right? At this point, I don't even care about increasing their lethality. I care that we are taking another unique killer and turning her into Dashy McGee. I'm sick and tired of it. I know the ambush has been there since our beginning kid. Because I know some motherfucker who is just watching the point soar over their heads like a fucking jet engine is sitting there going, but she's always had the dash ability. I know. My point is that the dash ability does not need to be played into. It does not need to be the thing about her because it is not the unique selling point to the character. I do not want to sit here and watch characters get robbed of their identity. This upgrade is great. It's fantastic. It actually might bring her from D tier into C. But it's even high C. It almost B even if you play it right. But it's not what she needed. It's not a good change in terms of diversity and intrigue in the game. It is only a good change in bringing up her power level. And if all you're interested in is having her be really strong, then sure, I'm sure you're fucking doing backflips and sucking your own dick in excitement. But I am interested in the diversity of killers. Diversity that is playable, right? Because let's take Trapper, right? He's a really interesting killer with a really interesting power that needs a bit of a boost so he can be viable. But I don't necessarily want him to be super fucking A tier or whatever. It's the same thing with Pig. I don't want her to be super fucking A tier. I want her to be viable and have an identity of her own. Why play Pig when you can play Chucky? Why play Pig when you can play Nurse? Why play Pig when you can play literally any other killer that dashes forward? Point is that the PTB was just, it was good. I like a lot of the stuff. I dislike some of the stuff, and there's quite a bit of things that need to be reverted. But in reality, some of this stuff is just not good for the game. It's not good for diversity. It's not good for balance. It's not good for the health. And they need to be reverted before they hit live servers. I can only hope that when March 12th rolls around, that there's going to be something given to us to avoid. You get what I'm talking about. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think. If you played the PTB, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about all of these changes? Just go ahead and let me know. And because I don't just make these videos just to talk at you guys. I like actually reading your opinions and hearing what you have to say. So be sure to please, let me know what you guys think. And as always, a special thank you to my channel members, Nuclear Bomb, Cat Lover, and Spirit Upgrades for their additional support. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.